The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, transmitted across 17 star systems through quantum relays that had remained dormant for 2 millennia. In the United Earth Command Center buried beneath the Swiss Alps, Admiral Kane watched the alien script materialize on the primary display screen. The translation came seconds later. The sacred truce has expired. The Dominion hereby declares the resumption of hostilities against the species known as humanity. Prepare for judgment. Around him, junior officers shifted nervously in their seats. Some had only read about the Dominion in history files. Others had spent their entire careers preparing for this exact moment. Admiral Kane simply leaned back in his command chair and allowed himself the smallest upturn of his lips. "Send word to all fleet commanders," he said calmly. "Operation Patience is now active." 2,000 years ago, humanity had been different. When the Dominion's vast armada first appeared at the edge of Sol System, Earth had barely managed interplanetary travel. The alien confederation, comprising 7 species united under the banner of genetic purity, had come to cleanse what they viewed as another contaminated world. Humanity's chaotic DNA, its tendency toward random mutation and adaptation, offended their sense of order. The war had lasted 3 days, not because humanity surrendered, but because the Dominion, confident in their superiority, agreed to what they called a mercy pause. They would grant Earth 2,000 years to prepare a proper defense, to evolve into something worthy of a true conflict. To the Dominion, it was sport. To humanity, it was salvation. What the aliens hadn't understood was the nature of human ambition when faced with extinction. Commander Torres stood on the bridge of the EUS Vengeance, one of 10,000 warships hidden in pocket dimensions throughout human space. The technology had taken only 300 years to perfect after the truce began. Dimensional folding, quantum shielding, antimatter synthesis, gravity manipulation. Each century had brought new breakthroughs, each breakthrough carefully hidden from Dominion observers. "Sir, we're receiving deployment orders from Command," her lieutenant reported. "Hold position," Torres replied. "Let them come." The Dominion fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, just as they had 2 millennia ago. 500 dreadnoughts, each one kilometers long, bristling with plasma cannons and particle beams. They positioned themselves around Earth with mathematical precision, their shields glowing with the confidence of assumed victory. Supreme Commander Vex of the Dominion stood in his command sphere, studying the blue-green world below. The humans had built orbital platforms, he noted with mild interest. Some form of defensive satellites ringed their planet. Quaint. His tactical display showed minimal military presence, just a few hundred vessels that barely registered as threats. "Begin the cleansing," he ordered. The first wave of plasma fire descended toward Earth like divine judgment. Then something peculiar happened. The beams simply vanished, absorbed by an invisible barrier that shouldn't have existed. Not with human technology. Not with any technology the Dominion knew. Admiral Kane watched the confusion spread through enemy formations on his tactical display. 20 centuries of spy networks, of carefully placed observers, of humans who had learned to walk among alien species undetected, had given Earth intimate knowledge of Dominion capabilities. Every weapon frequency, every shield modulation, every tactical doctrine had been studied, dissected, and countered. "Phase 2, he commanded. Across Earth's surface, hidden installations revealed themselves. Not weapons, but massive gravitational projectors. A technology humanity had discovered in the quiet centuries of preparation. Space itself began to bend around the Dominion fleet, creating pockets of compressed reality that rendered their shields useless. Vex felt his command sphere shudder as physics itself seemed to rebel against his fleet. Impossible. The humans were manipulating fundamental forces with a sophistication that had taken the Dominion millions of years to achieve. How could a species barely out of their planetary cradle possess such power? The answer came in the form of a transmission from Admiral Kane, broadcast on all Dominion frequencies. "Supreme Commander Vex, 2,000 years ago you gave us time to prepare. We thank you for that courtesy. However, I should clarify something. We didn't spend that time preparing for war. We spent it ensuring war would never be necessary again." The hidden human fleet emerged from dimensional pockets like predators from shadow. But they didn't attack. Instead, each ship projected a containment field around a Dominion vessel, freezing them in place without firing a single shot. Torres watched her designated dreadnought struggle against the containment field. The technology was humanity's masterpiece, developed through 1,000 years of theoretical physics and another 1,000 years of practical application. It didn't destroy. It simply removed the option of violence. In the command center, Admiral Kane opened a channel to every ship, every station, every world in Dominion space. The infiltration networks activated, taking control of communication arrays that human agents had spent centuries learning to operate. Citizens of the Dominion, Kane began, his voice reaching billions of alien minds. Your fleet is contained but unharmed. Your crews are safe. We offer you a choice. Accept our terms for peaceful coexistence or remain in stasis until you do. We have no interest in conquest or revenge. We simply refuse to be anyone's victim. Vex struggled to comprehend what was happening. The tactical display showed the truth. Every Dominion world was surrounded by hidden human vessels. Not invasion fleets, but guardian ships, each one projecting the same containment fields that had neutralized his armada. Humanity hadn't just prepared for one battle. They had positioned themselves to end all battles. You underestimate us, Vex transmitted, though his voice lacked conviction. No, Kane replied. You underestimated yourselves. You thought giving us 2,000 years was mercy, but what you actually gave us was perspective. We studied not just your weapons, but your history, your fears, your dreams. We know that beneath your doctrine of genetic purity lies a terror of chaos, of change. We offer you something different: partnership, evolution, growth. The commander of the Vengeance received new orders. Torres smiled as she read them. Release containment on my mark. Deploy the gift. The gift was humanity's final surprise. Not a weapon, but a medical breakthrough. 20 centuries of genetic research had produced a serum that could stabilize the Dominion's rigid DNA while allowing for controlled adaptation. It would free them from the genetic stagnation they both worshipped and feared. Drops of the serum, contained in protective capsules, materialized inside each Dominion ship. The data packets that accompanied them contained the complete research, the formulas, everything needed to reproduce it. No tricks, no deceptions, just an offering. This is what we learned in 2,000 years, Kane continued his broadcast. That strength isn't about having the biggest weapons or the most ships. It's about understanding that every enemy is just a friend whose story you haven't heard yet. Your truce gave us time to prepare, yes, but not for war. It gave us time to prepare for peace. Vex stood in his command sphere, surrounded by his frozen fleet, staring at the small capsule that had appeared on his command pedestal. The scans showed it was exactly what the humans claimed. A gift that could revolutionize Dominion society, free them from the genetic prison they had built for themselves. Why? He asked simply. Kane's response carried the weight of 2,000 years of human philosophy, growth, and determination. Because we can. Because we choose to. Because humanity's greatest weapon has never been our technology or our numbers or our strength. It's our capacity to look at those who would destroy us and ask a simple question. What if we could be more together than we are apart? The containment fields powered down. The Dominion fleet found themselves free to move, to attack if they chose. But Vex, holding the capsule in his hand, made a different choice. He opened a channel to his fleet. Stand down all weapons. We have much to discuss with our human neighbors. On Earth, in command centers and on ship bridges throughout human space, the species that had spent 2 millennia preparing for this moment finally allowed themselves to fully smile. They had won the war by ensuring it would never be fought. The greatest victory they had learned was the one where everyone survived to see tomorrow.